Let's shift gears. Let's talk about those two sides. Your Seattle Reign, Angel City FC. This one going down Friday, as mentioned. What do we need to know about two teams? Outside shot to are they still playing for playoff hopes? I know it's like very low probs, but what are the vibes like in Seattle?
It feels a little over, to be honest with you. Like, it feels like Seattle Reign, they're currently 8 points out of eighth place. Angel City is 6 points out of 8th place. It felt like if Seattle was going to get it done, they needed to get victories against Houston and or at least a home draw against Bay FC. Really, they needed that away win at Houston, a team that's been struggling throughout the season, to say the least. The vibes after the Bay FC loss, it felt a little like resignation, but they know they're not mathematically out of it. Laura Harvey spoke to that. She said, well, as long as you're not mathematically eliminated, you got to go out there. It's never going to change our idea that we should go out there and play to win. I do want to point something out here. So when we got to the must-win proceedings of the season for Seattle, when things were just really stagnant, and then they came out of that Olympic break, they went into the transfer window. They won 3 consecutive matches between August 25th and September 6th. And we had talked about it. I said Seattle Reign, arrow pointing up, and it definitely looked like it. So that last match they won, that was on September 6th, if I remember correctly. And I do. That was a 3-2 win over Angel City in LA. On September 12th, Sofia Huerta was loaned to Lyon in France.
Big club.
And pretty good club. And between September 16th and September 29th, they've lost 3 matches in a row, and they haven't scored a goal in any of those 3 matches. So that's not great. And I gotta say, I understand Sofia Huerta's a defender, but anybody who's watched her play, she plays way high up the field. She is the best passer on the team, serves in crosses. She's the person who takes good corner kicks. And that's been a meaningful loss for them.
I can see that. Obviously, the results hurt. I mean, you got to wonder about a move like that, especially when you look at the Reign schedule the next 3 weeks. Obviously, they've got Angel City this weekend, as mentioned. Then they go at Utah. Winnable. And then there's that reverse fixture, the revenge match against the Houston Dash come to town. Mm-hmm. So I think those are 3 matches where, under different circumstances, and I got to imagine in the building, Seattle might be looking at those 3 matches and saying, hey, if we could put something together here, maybe put some pressure on those, 7th and 8th seeds. There's worse ways to spend your time and energy. And obviously, these jobs are finite, so these players want to play, make a good impression. Seattle does close the season at Orlando.
It's going to be a tough one.
If Orlando's still undefeated and on this unbelievable tear, I would not want to be a Seattle Reign player going to Orlando to basically try to be the last line of defense to make sure that somebody's able to hang an L on this team.
Yeah, 100%. I could see that one getting it would be tough because Laura Harvey is a defensive-minded coach and a defensive genius. But yeah, that would be tough sledding. I think if you're Seattle and you think about these next few matches, you're chasing Bay FC, who you just lost to. But Bay FC's next 4 matches are at Gotham, and then Bay has 2 consecutive home games, but those home matches are against the Kansas City Current and the North Carolina Courage. So, yeah, if you think about the next 3 fixtures, if you're Seattle, if you want to paint a sunny picture of it, you might feel okay about that. But, I mean, being realistic, the fact that they haven't scored a goal in 3 consecutive matches since Huerta's departure, pretty troubling. In the post-match presser after the Bay FC loss, I asked Veronica Latsko, who's playing right back, actually, who kind of switched from that attacking midfielder forward position and is now playing right back to kind of provide some of that passing and some of what Huerta used to do. I asked Latsko what she thought was missing in the final third. Why can't you score, basically? I worded it nicer than that. I mean, I thought she kept it $1.50 here. She said, quote, I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I say this because I put this on myself. It's quality. I think I had a ton of crosses, and I didn't connect nearly as many as I needed to, and that's on me. Yeah, quality and creativity. So not just being a crossing team, but being a team that can play around the final third, break the team down, and go through the middle of them. Yep. Not just from the wide in, but just working from the inside out too. End quote. And I'm no football genius, but you and I watch a lot of football. I think she's 100% right. This team can't do anything in the central channels.
one thing I'm always impressed by when I hear you talk about like the discourse in the building is there seems to be a lot of self-awareness
Yeah.
about the team, what the team has, it doesn't have, and kind of like where it's going. I do think that's kind of like the hallmark of a good, solid franchise. Not a lot of finger pointing. Hey, we know where we're at. We know where we got to improve. Even thinking ahead to next year, we know what we want to kind of try to work on. This Angel City side, though, I haven't really kind of been able to put my finger on what hasn't gone right for them. So obviously, they're right there in that 11-12 mix in the standings. They've got a much tougher last four. They go at Seattle, at the Courage. They're going to have Utah at home, and then they go at Portland. So a couple playoff teams in there going to make things a little bit tricky for them. But when I think about Angel City, they've got good players, but I feel like they do lack a little bit of, I don't want to say tough, like, toughness or grit. Obviously, like, Sidney LaRue is a player that plays tough and I think steps up in big moments. But I don't feel like she's been able to lift necessarily enough of her teammates up to that level. You think about, the Thompsons as well. Alyssa Thompson's been on an absolute tear recently. But I don't know what's missing from this Angel City side. I think there was some real expectations coming into the season. I think from early on, I kind of wasn't totally into what I was seeing. I didn't really see this team as like a playoff team. And it's just kind of persisted. But what's been your main takeaway from kind of watching them muddle through the season?
You were way early on it, buddy. You were 100% correct. I mean, they've allowed a league worst 37 goals across their 22 matches played.
No.
Now, the funny thing about that, though, is that so they've had 2 away matches where they've let in 4 goals. One was at Kansas City, one was at Washington. So, like, do you hate that? I mean, obviously, you never want to let in 4 goals, but those are 2 of the 3. Right, like those are 2 of the 3 best teams in the league. You went away to play those matches. I just think, and maybe this is easier for fans to kind of absorb. I realized this watching these 2 teams play a few weeks ago in that wild 3-2 Seattle victory in LA. Is like kind of by the end of the match, I was like, 11th and 12th, that sounds about right for these 2 clubs. Like, Seattle can't really score. Angel City lets in way too many goals. I think that's just kind of who they are. Like, Angel City does have good players. I want to double check this. I'm going to do this live on the show. I mean, live in this recording. Messiah Bright, that goal she scored against the Washington Spirit, that's her only goal of the season in 17 matches. Now, she's also only played 455 minutes throughout league play for Angel City. That's not nearly the kind of season that I was hoping she would have. I think she showed good things for you guys over in Orlando. I don't think that's her future as a player, but I'm glad you mentioned like Sidney LaRue can't really like drag the whole team up to that kind of like killer instinct level that she has. She's not supposed to. And I don't think you were saying that she was supposed to. I mean, she's 34 years old. Like, she doesn't have that in her game anymore. Kristen Press, one of the best U.S. players that I think I've ever seen in my life as like a super sub for the USWNT in the 2019 World Cup. She doesn't have that in her game anymore. She's coming back from devastating injuries, and it's amazing that she's come back to play. But they're just not going to be able to give you what they were able to give you 5-6 years ago. I love Sarah Gordon in defense. She is tough as hell. I don't think anybody could ever question that. But like, they made the playoffs last year, actually lost in Seattle on Seattle's march to the final. I just think Angel City, they feel a couple years away. But because they have so much investment and they have a couple star players and good names, maybe before the season, not you because you're too sharp, my good man. I can't remember how high I was on them. Hopefully that's not me ducking anything. I don't think I thought they were anything too special either. But
no.
I think people expected a little too much out of them compared to what their roster had.
I think that's fair. I think that's probably what it was. A good run last season. Some recognizable players. But I mean, I'm a big, we watch the games, bro. I take that shit seriously. Like, I'm looking for some body language. I'm looking for the chemistry. I'm looking for what these people, another one we were on early, obviously, was the San Diego Wave and stuff being a little bit off kilter there. We're just like, this team's got really fucking good players and they're really not good. Like, it didn't make any sense. So I think probably just another proof point on the maturation of the league where it's like, hey, you can't just roll out some good players and have them kicking around and go buy players and just stick whoever wherever. You really got to be building a team, a proper team with an identity, with a philosophy, with strengths that they want to lean into. And I think Angel City is probably the kind of team that, maybe needs to probably go back to the drawing board a little bit. And I think when you think about Angel City and Seattle, I do feel like Seattle has maybe a bit of a better grasp on who they are, where they're at, and maybe probably a little bit better position to A, finish this season out a little bit stronger, and then B, probably be better positioned going forward here.
I think that's probably true. I think people think very highly of Becky Tweed, and I think she is a capable coach. I know Leanne Sanderson was talking about it again in that Angel City Spirit match. She had to just be driven crazy by the transition defense. We obviously like basketball here. I always think about Avery Johnson when he was a coach of the Mavericks. And there was the one press conference where he goes, transition defense. It was like, I don't know, forever. That's forever in my mind. And when the Spirits, I know, it's bizarre. I loved Avery Johnson, though. I thought he was fucking hilarious.
Basketball.
That dude was the best. And so, yeah, I think they gave up 2 transition goals to Portland. They gave up the transition goals to the Spirit. I do think it probably needs to be said, when you lose June Endo before the season starts, that is really tough. And then they lose Allie Riley, kind of one of their central defensive figures. Those are tough injuries to kind of overcome. But I think you're probably right. When you just have Laura Harvey in the center of your program, everybody has to be accountable and everybody has to be realistic about where you are, because she does not mince words about where you are. She will be very honest that you do not have the quality to score goals right now. And she's said that throughout the entire season.
Yeah, probably a really good person to kind of have at the helm.
Yeah.
In a time like this, you really kind of hope that, obviously coach gets another year to kind of get things on track, because you do feel like the plan is there. It's just maybe a little bit of a year that went off the rails here. Obviously, Seattle, Angel City, the stakes is not high.
No, they are not.
But should be a pretty fun one. Anything else you want to hit about this matchup before we get out of here?
I do. I have one more thing to hit. We're talking about Laura Harvey. We've mentioned our pal, Leanne Sanderson, multiple times on this show. They're both former Lady Gunners, your squad. Laura Harvey, the latest guest on the Women's Football Show, a podcast hosted by Leanne Sanderson. You would be a fool, I tell you, not to check that show out. Go listen to that on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts immediately.
100% cosign. Great show. Love Leanne. Love Coach Harvey. I'm excited for that conversation. So as soon as we hop off here, I'm going to get that bad boy loaded up, get ready, throw on the sleep timer because it's late here on the East Coast. So I might,
of course,
might doze off a little bit to the sweet sounds of Leanne and Coach Harvey chopping it up.
It's amazing.
To round out the Matchweek 23 slate, we've got Houston, Chicago, Friday night, 8 p.m. We've got Seattle, Angel City. We mentioned North Carolina, San Diego, Saturday, 7 p.m. That's going to be a good one. Gotham FC, Bay FC, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Some playoff implications there. Racing Louisville, KC Current, Saturday night, 7:30. Great weekend for playoff implications if you're into that sort of thing. The late night Saturday affair, Portland hosting the Utah Royals. And then obviously Sunday, all by their lonesomes, the Orlando Pride hosting Washington Spirit, 5 p.m. Eastern. Should be a killer NWSL slate this weekend.
100%. All those times, I know Dino said it on the last match, but all those times that he mentioned Eastern Standard Time, East Coast biased on this podcast, I cannot abide that, but it's all right. I understand the way you're living over there. It is late. So yeah, I mean, like you said, and we've had the conversation before, playoffs in football, do I love it? Love it? Not really. I kind of treat it like it's a separate cup, but it does mean that they have pulled a trick on us, that we very much care about the teams that are in 7th through 10th place in the league at the end of the season. We're not talking about UEFA Conference League spots, but we're talking about a spot in a tournament. So that's fun.
I mean, the Cup versus Shield is for everyone to reconcile on their own, in a private moment in quiet times. I mean, I think I'm a Shield guy. I believe you're also a Shield. This is a Shield show. I think
yes,
this is a Shield show.
It is.
Much tougher to kind of plow through 26th and get on a hot streak for 3 short ones. Not taking anything away from the Playoffy Cup, the Playoff Cup. How do we want? We'll come up with a cutesy name for it.
There you go.
Still a huge feat. If Orlando wins the Shield and not the Cup, obviously I'll have a fresh take to unfurl when that happens.
There you go.
But stretch run, very exciting times.
Can't get much better than that, man. I mean, like you said, it's sort of in balance, but not really. I think your Orlando Pride is going to take it, but we got to watch the matches play out.
And with that said, I think we did it. It's been another episode of Into the Channel. Sincere thank you for watching, listening, following, liking, subscribing, just plain hanging out with your boys. And remember, like if you liked, and subscribe or follow Into the Channel, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Engel, for always being at the top of the table in my standings. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. I think, you and I, we're going to take home the podcasting shield and the podcasting cup championship. So you know what? We're out here cooking.
I call it a double where I come from.
Damn right. Thank you, everyone, for rocking with us. We will talk to you very soon.